Alright guys, today we're putting logos on Willie Karsten's 1974 Volkswagen bus. Okay, so basically what we're doing, we're putting logos on Willie Karsten, our buddy Willie Karsten. We're putting some logos on the side of his 1974 Volkswagen bus. We're gonna use, well, I'll tell you how this all came about. I did some work on Willie's bus for him a while back. Some collision repair to the right side. And when he was in here picking it up, he was talking about how he wanted to have some logos put on the bus. And he was talking about just using vinyl. And so I told him, I said, yeah, Willie, you can't, in my opinion, you can't put vinyl on an old bus, vinyl after, it seems like vinyl after just a couple years, especially if it's a vehicle that sits outside a lot and doesn't get garaged, the vinyl just starts to peel up. So I talked Willie into painting it, but that means, I guess, that I get to do it. Because there's probably a couple sign painters around town, but Willie's just been asking me if, by chance we could do it. And I said, well, I'm not a professional at it by any means, but we could probably get it done. So what I'm doing here, I've got this stuff called it's Gerber mask. This goes through a machine, printer type, a plotter basically, that will cut out the logo. And now I'm weeding out the areas. You can see on there, Karsten's Bakery. Willie's actually from Germany, moved here from Germany. He's a baker. He's owned this bakery since 1968. And he's also a pretty big Volkswagen nut. In fact, Willie is the previous owner of the Canada Dry bus that is a pretty popular bus over in the UK. It's a 1958 double door panel. That used to be Willie's bus, actually. And then a friend of ours in Boise bought it and then sold it, and it was sent over to the UK. So you can see this goes pretty quick and easy. I'm just basically grabbing the letters, pulling those out. You just got to be careful on the letters that have, like for example down here, just weeding out the year 1968. You've got to leave the inside of the letters. So like on the 9, you got to leave that inner piece. Just as you're pulling them apart, you just have to make sure you don't pull that inner piece of that letter out or number. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this. This will only take a minute, and then we'll show you how we're going to transfer it to the bus. Okay, so I've got this all cleaned up. All of the letters and everything are weeded out. I'm going to trim off a little bit of the excess vinyl on the top here. This is the only thing I could find for a straight edge in the shop. This will just basically make it a little bit easier when I'm putting it on the bus to get it straight. Then this stuff here is actually masking, kind of a transfer paper sometimes it's called. It's basically just like a great big roll of masking tape. And what we're going to do with it is get it started here. Some sign painter guys watching this video right now going, wow, this guy has no clue what he's doing. Body putty spreader. Kind of knock out all of our air bubbles and adhere these two material together. Okay, so that transfer is ready to go. Now what we'll do is we'll take this and they'll pull the masking away from the backing, and then we'll just transfer it over to the bus. I might need to push this down just a little bit harder so it pulls up nice and even. I've got one I'm gonna do for the back hatch, and then we'll go put it on the bus. Okay, so we're here on the driver's side door using a tape measure. Luckily we've got this groovy molding here, and we were able to just, from the bottom of this lettering to the molding, I measured 6 inches. Kind of centered it in the door, not the handle, but the actual door, centered it. And basically once I got it all where I liked it, I took some tape, made some corners. That way when I pull this off, we pull the backing and we set it, we've got it pretty close to where we want it. So, pull this tape off. Now we're going to pull our transfer paper off, and it's going to pull the stencil away from the backing. And we just want to watch and make sure that as we're pulling that away, that we're not pulling up any of the inner parts of the letters or numbers. It looks like pretty clean. Now this part here, these doors have actually got a little bit of a curve to them. One other thing I didn't mention is I've already gone over this with wax and grease remover and removed all the wax and grease. So I'm going to kind of hold this out, kind of curve it almost, and then we're going to just kind of eyeball where our top edges go, kind of bring them in. I'm going to hold the bottom out, and I'm going to start down here, kind of curved on me a little there. I'm holding this part all away, and we'll just kind of slowly work it down, holding it away down here. If you end up with a piece in the middle here grabbing, there's no pulling it back off, and then you end up with a wrinkle in your lettering or in your numbers, and it can be a mess. It's not quite as critical as putting on vinyl, where you got to make sure you don't get any bubbles or air pockets at all in it, but you just want to make sure none of the edges around your stencil are wrinkled. Work any bubbles out along the edges. Get it stuck down nice. And once that's all stuck down good, you can just grab this transfer paper, basically the masking paper, and start pulling it back. Again, being careful not to pull up any edges or pull off any of these little center pieces. All right. There's a couple different ways now. You can see all these bubbles I got in here. Good thing we're not laying down like, you know, vehicle wrap or something. I think that stuff's a little more forgiving. But really these bubbles out in the middle don't matter as long as the edges are all stuck down good around our lettering. Now there's from here with the one shot, we can you can roll it. They make a little roller. I've never tried the roller. You can airbrush or you can just brush, and that's what we're gonna do. I know it's called one shot, but we're actually, which basically just means, you know, you get really good coverage with the stuff. We're gonna go 2 coats on it. And okay, one more thing I'm gonna do before we get going here is just take some masking, run it along the bottom here. Since we're not airbrushing, you know, if we were airbrushing, we'd probably want to go around the whole thing, do like a larger area. But mainly we just need keep anything that might drop, any slop down here, we'll cover that up. I'm gonna grab a brush. I got a pretty wide brush, and we'll start brushing this out. Now personally, I like the brush strokes. I think they look cool, especially on the older buses when they start to fade out and you can see the brush strokes. You probably can't see it in the video, but up here in these thinner areas, it's a little light. And you know, there are a few spots where it's lighter and darker. Personally, I like that. I think Willie's gonna want it nice and filled in and crisp. So I'm gonna let this flash, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do one more coat over it. And then this stuff's really tough. This big of a piece of stencil is really tough to pull wet. So, excuse me, I'm going to let this flash just dry, actually nice and tacky. And then we'll pull it off. And then pulling out all the inner pieces of all the letters. I'll have to do that with some tweezers, similar to when we were weeding it out. But yeah, that's about it. We'll let this kind of flash for a minute. I'll come back, we'll do one more coat, and then we'll pull this off. Okay, time to pull this paper off. Get rid of that, get a garbage can over here. So this is basically still a little tacky, but I worry about letting it dry completely, because a lot of times you start pulling masking with the paint dried completely and it'll actually pull it up. So we're gonna pull it right now while it's still kind of tacky. Kind of zoom in here. Hopefully we can do it without any mess. This is kind of the tricky part. I've got a razor blade and and some tweezers. So once you get to this point, you got like you can take a razor blade or your tweezers, just kind of pull it under the vinyl, kind of hook it with the tip of the razor so you got enough you can pull on. Be careful not to put your hand into anything. So right there, I actually the tip of my tweezers left a little bit of paint on there. So I keep a little bit of lacquer close by and some Q-tips. A little bit of lacquer on a Q-tip or even a small paintbrush. You don't want it too saturated or it might drip. Quick fix. Your tweezers will kind of start to get gummed up, so clean those up every few times you pull some masking. So then with your blade, all I had was utility blades. I need to go get a new box of razor blades, but you kind of come in here and just catch the very edge of the vinyl, snag it with the tip of the razor, pull it out. Careful not to scratch the paint, you're just trying to snag that vinyl and pull on it. Okay, we got Willie all logoed up last night, and we're gonna walk out here and check out the final product of my wannabe sign painting. There it is, there's the left front door. Right front actually rolled a little on me. I actually had to fill in the E, just had to tape that in. I lost the chunk there, I was gonna hurry, and then it rolled here on me. I had to kind of fix that a little bit. And then the back hatch went a little smaller on the back hatch. Back hatch turned out pretty good. One thing I did, the left front door here, I left probably the longest before I pulled the masking. And there's a couple little spots where you can kind of see the paint didn't just melt back as nice as it did on the back hatch. and the right front door. So next time I do one of these and I'm using a stencil like this, I'll probably pull the masking just a little bit earlier, and it'll kind of melt those edges. They'll just kind of melt in a little bit better. It's kind of tricky because if you pull it too soon, it's a big mess and you risk making a mess on the vehicle. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. We're going to run it over now to Willie. He's going to give me right back. Maybe I'll take a camera along with me. Willie's kind of a character.
Now, what are you taking pictures for, Jeremy?
I videoed the whole process of doing your bus, you know?
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, we've got a YouTube channel where I put up videos of different stuff we do at the shop.
Oh, okay.
So I was just doing a video on the way over to your shop, and I did the video of the whole process of putting your logos on your bus.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's gonna stop, isn't he?
Okay.
Oh, they got a light here for the pedestrian.
What's the matter with her?
I don't know, she's just waiting around.
She said, let them toot all they want. Man, I stay away from them. They're lunatics out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Working too long in the fly.
You gotta be careful now honking at people. You got the name on the side of your bus.
Look at her.
Yeah.
She's nuts.
She is nuts.
Oh, they out there.
Yeah, they are. Oh, wow. Well, there you have it. That's my take on sign painting and logoing Volkswagen buses. A couple different ways to do it. If you got skills, freehand is definitely the way to go. But if you're unskilled like me, you just got to go with the stencil. Anyways, if you're ever in Idaho Falls, check out Karsten's Bakery over on Cliff Street. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.